Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh god, it's this has-been Pyro DPS that got outclassed by the Liyue Big 3 right after... Diluc is really good at max investment, and that's not me, I'm not max investment, but in the intro clip you're able to see how strong he can be when he takes advantage of great supports like Bennett and Xingqiu to raise his damage ceiling by a ton. I spent a lot of time doing research and talking with DilucMains so I could get the best info for you guys, so if you could leave a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. And if you like live content, I wanted to let you guys know that I go live on Twitch a couple days a week at twitch.tv/Braxophone, so feel free to stop by. I've heard a lot of people saying that Diluc got power crept and that he's not good anymore, and that's just simply not true. Just because he doesn't have damage per screenshot doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't compete with other top DPS. All in all, he's still a super solid unit. So in this guide, we're going to talk about Diluc's kit just a little bit. We're going to talk about his best build for artifacts, his best weapons, and his best teams. Let's get right into it. So Diluc's kit isn't that complex. His elemental skill is a 3-hit combo that you can weave attacks between, and his elemental burst is a wide burst damage hit that continues to do damage over time to enemies in front of it, and infuses Diluc's weapon with Pyro. His Ascension 1 is pretty useless because it buffs your charged attacks, which you'll never use honestly, but his Ascension 2 is a pretty decent damage buff. That's like literally his in-game kit. Like all the stuff you can read, that's all. As for constellations, all of them are a slight damage increase, but I want to talk about 2 of them in particular because there are some easily misinterpreted things, I guess is the best way to say it. So the first one I wanted to talk about is Constellation 2 because it can be counterproductive with Serpent Spine, which is one of Diluc's best weapons. C2 makes it so that when Diluc takes damage, his attack and attack speed are increased, and Serpent Spine, in order to gain the most stacks on its passive, requires you not to get hit. So the thing that I wanted to let you guys know about is that if you run a shield with Diluc, you can get a C2 passive to work without him actually taking damage. And I'm not really sure why it's worded this way or why it works, but essentially running a shield makes you able to get both Serpent Spine buffs and gain C2 stacks. The other constellation I want to talk about is C4 because it's kind of useless. On paper it's good because it increases your damage by altering your combo to use Diluc's elemental skill and rhythm, which is kind of neat, but the problem is that to hit the rhythm you have to use more auto attacks between skill hits, which not only messes with Vaporize, but also ends up potentially losing damage based on the combo. Now there are so many small things that you can do to optimize your Diluc gameplay in terms of like actual things you can do in combat, but most people aren't going to use those, so if you're interested in learning about them, there will be documents in the description for things like Dragon Strike and more info about his constellations. And if you want to know about Diluc's best Vaporize combos, check out my vape combos video in the description as well. So if you do like taking the time to learn extra skills, I have some good news for you because this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online platform that makes learning and engaging with new ideas easy to get started with. Since I graduated with my degree in music education recently, I've wondered how my life could be different if I had chosen to learn different skills or just tried to pick up more along the way. Now, I wouldn't go back for a second bachelor's, but I might look for good videos online to help me understand new concepts. Luckily with Skillshare, there are organized classes and workshops to teach you all sorts of things on your own time. And if you've ever wanted to learn how to play music, edit videos, create digital art, or even code things like websites, Skillshare has opportunities for you to improve your knowledge and skills. I've been interested in improving my video editing for my second channel, so I took Jordy V's advanced video editing class with Premiere Pro, and I learned so many more new things about Premiere than I had seen in the 30 hours of YouTube tutorials I watched. And even better, there are no ads interrupting the classes, and there are new premium classes launching all the time, so you can always be learning more. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. So give it a shot, click the link, there's honestly nothing to lose. Now let's get back to the video and talk about Diluc's artifacts. There is good news and bad news. The good news is that he only really wants one set. You can build tons of sets on him, but there's really no point in using anything except the Crimson Witch of Flame set because its set bonuses are literally tailor-made for him. Every time you cast your elemental skill with this set, it's going to grant a pyro damage bonus, and since Diluc can cast a skill 3 times, you can stack it up pretty dang quick. It also gives bonus damage to Overload, Melt, and Vaporize, which you're going to want to do with Diluc anyways, and the 2-piece set gives pyro damage bonus as well. Look, I know how cursed that domain is, I spent months in there, but it is worth it. As for stats, if you're more of a casual player, this is super easy. The easiest, most straightforward thing to do is to build attack percent on your sands, pyro damage on your goblet, and crit rate or crit damage on your circlet to try to balance out your crit ratio. This is what most people are going to use, and it'll get you pretty good damage. But if you're looking for the good stuff, a little bit of the black market damage, like you're in the end game and you want to max invest in your Diluc, you might want to look into Elemental Mastery Sands. Now, there's a ton of things that play into whether or not Elemental Mastery will be better. For example, if you're not using Xingqiu, or if you're running a weapon without high attack stat like Serpent Spine or Rain Slasher, attack percent is going to be better. But since a majority of endgame players playing Diluc are going to be playing Xingqiu as well, it can end up being a lot better to run EM Sands. Also, with lots of attack buffs active like Bennett, Noblesse, or Tenacity, Elemental Mastery will be able to net you even higher damage just because you're already going to be getting so much attack from those buffs. So if you're an endgame player, you're using Xingqiu, you're using attack buffs, and you have a weapon with high enough attack attack to justify investing in Elemental Mastery Sands, do it. Truly though, I would not try to run Elemental Mastery Sands unless you're an endgame like Spiral Abyss and working on small optimizations, so if you're below AR50, don't run it, and if you can't decide between the two, just take the artifact with the better substats. There's also a sheet for Diluc optimization in the description as well, so if you want to test your artifacts in terms of what's going to get you the most damage output, check there. For substats, you want to focus on crit rate and crit damage, attack percent, and elemental mastery. Diluc doesn't really need much energy recharge, but it is helpful, just not a top priority. Let's take a look at Diluc's weapons now. So the sheets for reference are in the description if you want to take a look at those, but I'm going to focus on his best options for free-to-play and pay-to-play players. The top recommended weapon for Diluc is Wolf's Gravestone, but you can make an argument for Serpent Spine being pretty dang close, and the reason is that Serpent Spine is the only crit rate claymore in the game, and it makes it easier to build crit on Diluc. On top of that, its passive gives a pretty big damage bonus. Serpent Spine is also easier to refine for low spenders, so a lot of people prefer to use that on him. Now, the argument for Wolf's Gravestone is that it gives a massive attack bonus that enables you to run Elemental Mastery Sands without having to really give it a second thought, and Gravestone gives the attack bonus from its passive to your whole team, so overall it's a really solid weapon. And Unforged is also a top pick for Diluc in any team that uses a shield, so if you got that on Raiden's weapon banner, don't feel too bad. Below those three, the next best option is Skyward Pride due to its passive and base attack, though its main stat is kinda bad. The best true free-to-play option will be Prototype Archaic, but if you have access to Rain Slasher with good attack substats, Black Cliff, or Lithic Blade in the right team composition, those will all outdamage Archaic at similar refinements. Again, the sheets are in the description if you want to take a look for yourself. There's a lot of it depends with Diluc. And speaking of it depends, we're going to talk about teams for Diluc. So the number one character you want to use with Diluc is Xingqiu. Not only is he going to add a ton of damage himself, but he's also going to enable Vaporize, which makes your Crimson Witch set stronger and ultimately just makes your damage so much bigger. So first off, we have our Vaporize comp, and this features Diluc, Xingqiu, a flex character, and Bennett. Bennett's a nice character to have here for Pyro Resonance, heals, and a buff, and the flex spot can be anybody, but I recommend going with an Animo support or a shield user. If you have Xiangling or Kazuha, they go perfectly here. Otherwise, someone like Sucrose or Noelle will also work. My guess is that Kokomi will work here as well, but she's not officially released, so I can't say. I'll make sure to pin a comment when she does release. Ideally with this team, you're going to want Xingqiu's burst up as much as possible, but you'll just use supports during the windows when his burst is on cooldown. Honestly, the Vaporize team isn't too complicated. Moving on to the next team we have though, it's the Taser team with Diluc, Xingqiu Official, and a healer. Official can be replaced with Raiden here if you have her for better AoE damage, and the healer can be Bennett, Barbara, probably Kokomi, Sayu, or Jean, but it's really important not to use Chi-Chi here since Cryo will ruin the Electro Charge from Xingqiu and Official. Because Electro Charge will stay on enemies for a long period of time and you'll still be able to vaporize with it, but when you activate Superconduct, it just gets rid of the status condition and you can't melt off of it. But yeah, this team works out pretty nicely and it gets you a lot of elemental coverage as well. For the final team I want to look at, this is for those of you who don't have Xingqiu. So the last team is a melt team that actually allows you to use Chi-Chi, which could be really strong because she can use the Tenacity set for passive attack buff. There are multiple ways to run a melt team with Diluc, but the most free-to-play friendly way is to use Diluc, Kaya, another Cryo, and a support for heals, swirls, or noblesse. Bennett is fine here, but a swirl support can increase your damage a whole bunch, so someone like Sucrose is really helpful, and Sucrose can pass off Elemental Mastery, which can be really helpful for your melt damage. Diona C6 also increases Elemental Mastery and should be an awesome addition to the team. And with that, you guys, you should know everything you need to know about how to build Diluc to do massive damage. So if you've enjoyed, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more Genshin Impact videos, and check out the Twitch if you like live content. Let me know if you're using Diluc in the comments, and once again, all of the documents that I referenced are in the description. Some of them will explain better than I did, but I just wanted to break down the important stuff for you guys. But yeah, check those out if you're interested. Thanks again to DilucMains for helping me out with this video, and I will catch you guys next time.